Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. Now, if you want to be a part of this particular technology conversation, you can find us on SABC Network. Now that is on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Use network at sabc.co.za on email. You can also use the hashtag SABC Network. Here's what's coming up in the program. Artificial intelligence, gaming and tech education are some of the issues discussed at this year's BCX Disrupt Summit. The Gauteng Accelerator Program has named the top entrepreneurs it has identified. And our discussion is about the usage of social media to tell current developments in Zimbabwe. Dr. Shepherd Mpofu from the University of Johannesburg's Media Department is in studio for that one. Hello and thank you for being a part of our network.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
All right, so now is social media common, the usage of it that is, in political discourse in Zimbabwe?
I think currently that's what is informing mostly the public and even the international and local media.
All right, we'll expand on that discussion later in the program. But first, let's start with your technology and social media news. Now, disruption has been happening a lot in many spaces over the years. We've seen it in how we communicate, how we watch TV, how we consume music, and even how we use public transport. Technology has been at the center of this. This is the conversation that took place at the BCX Disrupt Summit. In the early 2000s, Apple disrupted how we listen to and purchase music with iPods, iTunes, and iPhones. These disruptions have continued to happen in the public transport sector with the introduction of Uber. The television space is seeing it now with Netflix and similar products. The holiday accommodation industry has been disrupted by Airbnb. Disruptors are often the small person who uses tech to fill a gap big organizations are too rigid to see.
The small person in Uganda or in Nigeria or in Senegal, my country, disrupting things because they're not scared. And they can just go and create things.
Old companies often lose out because they fail to be flexible and adopt new ways of doing things.
For example, the music industry, so greedy that they forgot that there are other ways to distribute their music. Disruption, greed, Kodak, so greedy that they didn't imagine that you could take more photos from a phone than from a camera. So when you are a company and you are so greedy on how you distribute, what your product is, and how you make money, that can only last for so long until somebody sees a better way to go about bringing the same product or experience. And that's what disruption is when people see something that you should be innovating on, but pause because you're making money, right? And the opposite of that is invention. Invention is like it came from nowhere. I invented something. Innovation is like there's something that you're doing, there's limitation, let's build on that and make it better, right? But if you're making so much money that you are blinded by how you can improve it, just so you can get profit, is when disruption happens.
While this has become the norm in the rest of the world, it's only happening now in Africa, what some call the last frontier. Those are some of the reasons the BCX Disrupt Summit was organized.
The BCX Disrupt Summit was really born out of our real need to innovate and disrupt the way that we think in South Africa. BCX is a large technology company. We rely on innovation. We rely on disruption. The more people we can get talking our language, then the better for our economy to start to grow our technology sector.
So over 2 days, speakers from South Africa and the rest of the world shared a stage in Kahalami near Johannesburg to discuss artificial intelligence, gaming, tech education and more. Some of the talks here touched on how Africa can create new solutions that can help the continent.
As a coder myself, I think the main thing would have been, the main dream is always, can you reach the thousands of people that you want to reach with this tool? And if you're given the platforms to do so, then I can't imagine wanting to sort of go somewhere else. The other flip side, though, is that I think that the solutions you're able to develop here will be a lot more interesting than what you'll be able to sort of develop in the US or the developed markets, because the problems here are a lot more interesting and a lot more complex and a lot more nuanced.
But a lot more people need relevant coding skills for the continent to truly thrive. The Gauteng Accelerator program has given awards to some of the most innovative tech solutions. This took place at the Innovation Hub in Pretoria.
The winner is, and I hear Tobito, multifractal semiconductors.
Multifractal Semiconductor startup CEO Nish Sai has won the 2017 Gauteng Accelerator Program Innovation Awards for his splendid job in the ICT industry.
We're going to use the seed money to build 1 or 2 more prototypes and to pay some of our engineers and to buy software. And then the incubation will help us. We'll have a space to work. They'll give us some advice, like IP support, so with legal support.
His company develops a millimeter wave technology portfolio in complementary metal oxide with applications in communications, automotive, aviation, and space.
We're trying to miniaturize 5G components, and we're doing that by making intellectual property blocks for silicon semiconductor chips. And then we license the blocks out to big manufacturers.
Another winner in the Gap Green Category Award was Pravish Naidu, a Chief Executive Officer for eWaste Africa, a company that recycles light bulbs.
I am a prime example of how I am being supported by corporates, by government, by the Gap and the Innovation Hub today to be able to grow my business.
These awards honored top innovators and entrepreneurs for their outstanding work in the smart industry, green economy, biosciences, and medical sectors. The award ceremony attracted dignitaries from international public and private sectors. The Innovation Hub CEO, Maclean Sibanda, said they were pleased with the caliber of the winners that came out of this year's Gap Innovation Competition.
One of the things that we face as a country is a high unemployment. And these awards, in essence, celebrate young women and men that have taken the step to solve some of our most pressing challenges and also take advantage of some of the opportunities so as to create businesses that will scale and employ other people.
According to judges, all this year's winners were natural leaders who are committed to succeed in the industry.
Every year the talent gets better and better, so our job as judges becomes more difficult.
The awards took place at the Innovation Hub in Pretoria. These awards celebrate and honor some of the finest and brightest innovators and entrepreneurs who have taken the leap of faith to solve some of the challenges that face communities.
CPX organized a cybersecurity discussion that looked at how companies can better secure themselves. This included on mobile phones, cloud systems, and computers. A lot of businesses don't think about how to better secure their tech systems.
If a company has a lot of their workforce bringing their mobile devices into the office, that's potentially a threat that attackers could target unless there is security on those devices.
In Johannesburg, this was discussed at the CPX Cybersecurity Conference.
What we usually talk about is what's called the shared responsibility model. If you take a cloud vendor like AWS, for example, or Azure, what they're going to protect is the infrastructure itself. These would be the virtual machines that you rent from them. And what they're not going to protect is your data. And so what shared responsibility means is, as a consumer, you have the responsibility to protect your own data. And that's where we come in. We help them do what's called layer 4 to layer 7, which is a very technical way of saying you need to protect your applications and the data that they are consuming. And that's what we like to add on top of what the cloud providers give you.
They say a lot of organizations know that their systems need to be safe, but aren't doing it. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Welcome back. Now, social media in Zimbabwe has played a pivotal role in telling the story of the latest developments. It started with videos and photos of many army tankers in Harare that people were sharing on social media. Here's one of those social media videos that were first to let people know that something was not quite normal in Harare.
There's a tank along Josiah, along Kirkman Road, closing off Kirkman Road. This is, wow, military police and a tank. Military police and a tank. This is happening in Harare. The date is the 14th of November. There is a tank blocking Kirkman Road, stopping cars from going outside. They're actually working on blocking the road. They're letting the last few cars in. This road leads to the second presidential guard barracks that are just outside Harare, going towards the Harare extension. This is, wow, it's real, guys. It is real.
Now joining me in studio to talk about the role that social media has played in Zimbabwe in recent years is Dr. Shepherd Mbofu from the University of Johannesburg. Thank you very much for being a part of our network.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me too.
Let's start with you. How did you first find out that something was changing in Zimbabwe?
I saw it on Facebook and Twitter that there were some army vehicles moving around town, and basically this was after the army had issued a statement, and thereafter there was some movement of military vehicles. So that's when I found out that something might be amiss or something might be cooking here.
And the army then quickly warned people not to be sharing information on social media?
Well, there was a warning that you shouldn't sort of take pictures or share pictures. I remember one person, they were at a roadblock, they were told to switch off their phone, and they sent the clip. I got the clip from one of the groups that I'm in on WhatsApp, that I was stopped at a roadblock and I was told to switch off my phone and not to take pictures or to share anything. But they're saying that the soldiers were more professional than the police that you find in Zimbabwe in roadblocks.
A professional how?
In terms of treating people, this guy says he gave them $5, which is like 5 times 12, around 70 rand, out of his own volition. But usually the police will always ask you for a drink or try to find something wrong with your car, so that if you can't pay a fine, then you have to give them something for a drink.
Now, technology is all over the place and mobile phones are all over. A phone has a camera. Is this the norm now that in Zimbabwe people would be told not to take photographs of certain movement, of certain structures, and not to share them on social media? Has this been normal in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, there's been cases where sort of expressions of dissent or ridiculing the president on social media have been criminalized, but you cannot control or police how people use their mobile phones. You can have a rule or a law to that effect, but it's difficult to control people from doing that. So what you find out is that even after the warnings are issued, people still continue using their mobile phones to take pictures, record videos, and even send voice notes across different platforms.
Let's go back to protest marches that had been organized in the last couple of years. A lot of them were organized through social media, no?
Yes, they're organized through social media. And what happens, you find that there are very high levels of unemployment and poverty in Zimbabwe. Not everyone has a phone that has data, but you find that it's easier for one person to get the information and they share it with the next 10 people. And therefore, the mobile phones are used that way to share information, organize protests, and have a large number of people participating.
How do you think that the availability of these gadgets and social media have changed the way people engage on issues that pertain to their lives?
Firstly, it's easier now to share your lived experiences rather than waiting for them to be mediated through mainstream media like your television, your newspapers. And secondly, there's issue of immediacy. News, people want to hear news as soon as anything happens. And therefore, it's easier to share and it's much more authentic to a certain extent to share images of those lived experiences. But at the same time, there are issues of fake news that you see even now what's happening in Zimbabwe. There's lots of fake news that are coming through. and then you have to sift what is good news, what is bad news.
Let's talk about that for a second. The Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, that's POTRAS, in the past they have warned people against sharing such information online, on social media. Do they have a leg to stand on with those warnings?
They don't. People will continue to be creative. Citizen journalism cannot be policed, or even those warnings, they're warnings for safety's sake, but they're not legally binding in a way, and you don't have a leg to stand on in such a situation, and people always do whatever they want to do with their mobile phones, and it's difficult to police that.
But at the same time, also raise the issue of fake news. Would POTRAS not be worried about that? I do know that Zimbabwe this year as well had also created a cyber security department. Should that not be a worry? Is that not something that should be done?
We can worry about fake news where state security, for instance, is concerned, or where people are sending news clips or news items that are likely to excite public upheaval. But on issues like, for instance, what is happening now, somebody will send a fake lineup of the leadership that is coming to be in place after, if ever Mugabe leaves. That could be fake news, but it's not harmful. So the issues of cybersecurity, they're important. It's an important ministry, provided it comes from a right source. For instance, you cannot expect any ZANU-PF regime to have a cybersecurity ministry, because we already know what that is for. But if it was...
How do we know that? They could really be legitimately worried about how people's safety online.
It would be interesting that after 30 years in power, all of a sudden they become saints. But at the same time, it's...
Well, issues of cyber threats are only happening now. They didn't exist that much 30 years ago, did they?
They didn't exist, but ZANU-PF is capable of defining what cyber threat is, and calling Mugabe Goblin could be an issue of state security. Like now an American was arrested for that.
Yes.
And so what I'm saying is it's a right ministry, but it's coming from a wrong party or from a wrong source.
All right. Well, Dr. Shepen Bofu from the University of Johannesburg, thank you very much for being a part of our network.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, sir. Now, we caught up with actor Raphael Griffiths, and he told us what his favorite piece of technology is.
Hey, my name is Raphael Griffiths, and I cannot live without my cell phone. The reason why I can't live without my cell phone is because I do everything on my cell phone, from calling people to social media to even my invoices for work. I use my phone, trust me.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, SABC has joined the video on demand community, and North Korea recently held its IT Expo. These are some of the stories that took place in the rest of the technology space.
SABC has joined the likes of Showmax and Netflix in the video-on-demand platform. The entertainment platform Black launched its smart set-top box for the high-definition home viewing on Tuesday, November 14th. The network provider said that the Black box aims at providing customers an interactive entertainment experience that pairs with content available on the Black platform and differentiates the Black experience from similar services in South Africa and also worldwide. Now heading over to Dubai. Expo 2020 Dubai is joining forces with leading vehicle manufacturer Nissan to demonstrate and showcase the future of intelligent mobility, starting with a fleet that includes electric vehicles.
Nissan Group's commitment to sustainability is evident in their plans to launch 12 all-electric vehicles. In fact, key pillars around Nissan's intelligent mobility are autonomous driving, connected vehicle technology, and electric vehicles. All are absolutely in line with Expo 2020 Dubai's sub-themes of mobility, sustainability, and opportunity.
And now off we go to North Korea. The country held its information technology exhibition in Pyongyang on Monday, November 13th, showing off its latest IT products.
It was developed to let the children experience augmented reality. Children can put their knowledge to practical use. We also developed this map to let children play games with sand and develop their intelligence at the same time.
Some of the technologies showcased include artificial intelligence, face recognition, satellite image analysis, and sports simulation games.
On Twitter, we've been asking, since Nokia has been back for almost a year now, do you trust the new Nokia range of phones? Now, 24% of respondents say no. Just about that same number of people at 26% are people who say yes. Most people at 29% say they don't know enough about the phones. And in last place is 21% of respondents who say they didn't know they had returned. All these figures are pretty close to each other, don't you think? And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network now. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za on email. We leave you with the visuals of the Emirates Air Show. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one. Bye-bye.